special interview on THD TV, live from our studio in Manjaikunda. As I said, this is a show that looks at the life of Gambians who are doing very well in areas that they are specialized on. And today we have a special interview and a special guy in the studio. I know by the time we start, Gambians will know why I say a special guest tonight on this program. But before going any further, like we always do on this frequency, we ask you to send, us your comments, subscribe to our YouTube channel, give us your take as to how you see our programs, because we are here to make you feel what belongs to you. And before going any further, let me just welcome my guest to the store, Sadibou Kamasso. Welcome to THD special interview.
Thank you very much, Haji. It's always a pleasure to be interviewed by a special one, never a dull moment. I'm happy to be here, and I'm quite impressed with, what I've seen. Thank you.
Well, you're also part of people who always been behind, this concept of Haji Branding, getting into where we are today. Thank you very much for coming, despite this short notice, but like always, whenever we knock on your doors, you're always ready for us, to talk to you. We have a lot of things to talk about, the future of Gambian football, the past 12 months, what those, Gambian football, where those Gambian football went to or moved to after the qualification. But before going any further, let's step back, and talk about the 12 months. How have it been for you? 2022 has been a smart year for Gambian football, which you were part of. Gambia earned a qualification to the AFCON after 55 decades of trying. How do you summarize or you sum up 2022 as a sport administrator?
2022 has been an incredible and interesting year, to be honest, and a successful one in terms of Gambia reaching to that height in African football, to be honest. I mean, that was the first time Gambia ever played in the AFCON, when we went to Cameroon, and we were able to go up to the stage we went and, got out of the tournament, having lost to Cameroon. But I think there has been so much achievement when it comes to people's awareness to how football should be run, how football should be governed, and what level football should go. Because we have quite a number of professionals who have also tried to give back to whether their families or their clubs, and that has raised so much awareness as well. So I think 2022 for me has been a successful, although challenging and trying, but it's quite promising.
Yeah, there are, low moments and high moments in 2022, like you just said. But when you look back, we're still going to be on the year under review. When you look back at personal level, what do you think has been the highest moments for Sadibou?
I think I have not even reached the highest moment. The highest moment would have been, obviously, if we had taken over the Gambia Football Federation, because we had, great vision, brilliant ideas that we had put up together to be able to move Gambian football forward. I mean, I got a lot of exposure, in terms of people getting to know me. A lot of people will say, where were you all this while? We just saw you on TV and you have all these brilliant ideas. I said I was around. I'm just not the type that comes to the limelight. But then I've always been around. I mean, you know me. I mean, we've been involved in this football administration. And it's been a good one for me. I think the ideas that I had, those were the ideas I tried to bring forward to be able to move Gambian football forward. Unfortunately, the stakeholders chose the other way. But we're not resting on our oars, because, I mean, it's something that we feel is still doable.
Yeah, let's talk about that, election. Immediately after the AFCON, that's the Africa Cup of Nations, your candidature came, and it was welcomed by many young Gambian sport administrators who are looking for the future, and you went into the election, and there are many things that happened during the elections. And do you have any disappointment to share with our audience?
Disappointment would be an understatement, because there were lots of people that had given me their word, and there were lots of people that even came to approach me to vie for the position, and eventually, like they would say, chickened out, or
So anyway, this doesn't come overnight, just like you came from.
So I mean, it was a challenging one. But as I said, there were people who had actually approached me to say, you can go in for this. And for me, it wasn't just about wanting to take over Gambia Football Federation, it was about changing the mindset and, exposing people to the inner intricacies of football. And I think that was a great success for me and my team, because a lot of people are now aware of how football is governed, some of the things that are possible when you say that. Because like I had talked about increasing the league prize money and things like that. Now I've seen the Gambia Football Federation doing all those things. These are ideas that we had. And these were things we believe could have been done. But all this while, people were saying, no, it's not possible, the money's not there. But I've been there, I understand, I know how these things are done. So for me, it was a success because we were able to expose people to the inner intricacies of football. We wanted to stimulate interest and passion, to increase football participation, so that we can bring football and its benefits to the doorstep of every Gambian. We were able to stimulate so much interest and passion. To bring football and its benefits to the doorstep of every Gambian would have only been achieved if we had taken over Gambia Football Federation, which we couldn't. So the mission continues.
Yeah, when you came in, as a candidate, there were a lot of things that happened behind the scene and openly, before election and during elections. And that is one of the decisions taken during the elections, to make some certain parts that could, give a chance to other side, to be in the dominance. Along the way, there was an issue between Sadibou and the Hawks that we know Sadibou from, because some of us in the field knows that we know you through Hawks and we know what you have done for Hawks. How do you look at that today and bring it into a normal perspective?
See, you can only control certain decisions that you have total control over. Not every decision you can control. Anything that I feel I can do on my own, I can control. If you look at everything that happened during the elections, there were lots of things that I had exposed. When I announced my candidature, people were like, no, he's a kid. Where is he going to go? These ideas are not doable. I brought 11 points that were ideas that I believe are doable, and we would have started right away. And people started saying, oh, these things are not doable. But some of my ideas are being used now. We even got to a point where, I heard stories after 6 months or 7 months after I had launched my manifesto, people saying I stole ideas, plagiarism is a crime, take me to court. Yeah. All those things are things, because when I have ideas, I write them down. And even, with the level of where I started from, from the level of my club as well, I didn't just get up and vie for the presidency. I made consultations. Like I said, the idea to contest for the position did not even emanate from me. There are people who were even serving in the Gambia Football Federation executive who were with me on this. They took me to the middle of the ocean and abandoned me, and I had already committed other people, so I couldn't have abandoned them. Because for me, I believe if I give my word, that's all I have. You could lose other things and get them back, except your respect, your integrity, and your word. So when I give you my word that I'm going to do this, if it's not today, it's the day after, or the week after, or the month after, or the year after. So when I committed some people and they said they were in with me, I said, I'm giving it a go. When some people decided to turn back, I was still going. And as I said, I'm happy that people now get to understand. Because during the campaign, there were people that would call me to say, if you win, we would sponsor this. If you win, we are going to do this. Because some of these things that you're saying, we never understood how these things are done. And I've said this time and again, the GFF needs to live up to the demands of the people. People have expectations. We should be a bit more transparent for people to understand what we are doing. I wouldn't be able to feel sorry for you or support you when I don't know what you're up to. I should be able to understand how you do your things to be able to come and support. If not, then it's difficult. The reason why most of these embassies have, attaches their intelligence, because they want to know when they're doing their foreign policies. Yeah. So all these things are things that are important. And my team and I had the fervent belief that we were going to take over, because we had the numbers. We had taught the length and breadth of this country like 3 times. We had the numbers, but towards the end, some people changed, and we had to respect their position and their decision. And up till now, some people are calling me to say, oh no, it was this. I'm like,
what do you think changed within the short period? Because you've been someone that came publicly to say there are many things that you go against when happen at the GFF to make sure that you follow the right procedures and the right protocols. What do you think at that time, within the short time, changes were made by people who endorsed that idea of you standing or vying for the position?
Well, it will be difficult for me to know, because sometimes you talk to some people you don't tend to understand. Maybe I could attribute that to personal interest. Or some people are being controlled by others, but I didn't coerce or force anybody to support me. Most of the people who supported, I'll say almost the people who supported me did it out of their own free will. So if they decide to change because they were promised certain things, maybe they were looking at the smaller picture, their personal interest, but I was looking at the interest of the whole country at large. Because Haji, you and I have traveled. You travel to other countries and you look at the level of football, the level of football governance, and the level of achievements, you wonder, are we even there yet? Our league has been amateur since 1952. You cannot be doing the same thing all the time and expect different results. I've said this time and again. If you want to professionalize the league by now, the clubs should start training to understand how they get there. I recently, maybe this is a fast forward, I've recently done a free training for general secretaries to offer my experience, my expertise, my knowledge. And the Gambia Football Federation was telling clubs that if they go, they're going to punish them.
Oh, really?
There were punitive measures for clubs.
Just go share your knowledge.
Share my knowledge and experience. And they were even questioning maybe my legal and technical competence. The first retreat the Gambia Football Federation organized here was my idea. And I was the lead resource person, together with the first Vice President, Bakari Jame. I was the lead resource person. I even had the presentation. Nobody questioned my legal and technical competence at the time. I was sharing my experience, and this is what I was doing whilst I was there. Anything I feel I can share, I share. And if I feel something is not going the right way, I express my opinion, and that's what happened. So people were like, oh no, what happened to all these ideas? I was sharing these. So it was up to the Gambia Football Federation leadership to accept them or not.
So that means that still the open door policy is not still, going as it was,
I really don't think so. Exactly, but surprisingly, we had 41 people that subscribed to it. Academies, third division clubs. We had people all the way from Basse, Haji, that attended, and I was so surprised. This was free of charge. I rented the hall, the snacks, the training equipment, all, I took care of that. Because all I wanted was to make people understand, because I realized clubs do not even understand what their roles are. And this was
still scared of
that's the real
because this could be another way of
No, but like I said, 2026, if there's a better candidate, I'm happy to support the candidate. What I want is for Gambia Football Federation to go to the next level. All other countries in sub-Saharan Africa are going professional. We're still amateur. Players are receiving, peanuts when it comes to salaries. You can't even sell players for decent money. So, it's better for us to take our football forward rather than looking at individual interests.
Gambians know you for Hawks Football Club. What is your connection with Hawks as of now?
Right now, I'm in Young Africans. I'm not with them anymore. I left when I saw the news and information that I got suspended.
How do you receive that? The very day that your nomination, was made, that was the day that you were suspended as a member.
Well,
how do you survive that?
I keep saying, out of respect, I don't want to talk about it. But they at liberty to choose what they want to do. But one thing I can say that I know my heart and soul was with the club. I would give anything for that club.
And in
at the time.
When the league was won, the players parade the cup, the trophy.
Yeah, emotional moment that was. Yeah, because I think I was trying to dive. I didn't go home.
Yes.
And then I went to my mom, and for some reason they located me there and found me there, and that even made it more emotional with my mom. But I still have a good rapport with some of the members of the club. But like I said, love doesn't die in a day, and you can't just say I don't want to support these people anymore. But they are at liberty to decide whatever they want to, and I respect that. But that's a club that I gave everything to that I had.
What were the lessons learned during the last election, and that you believe need to be addressed before the 2026?
This is the best question I've had. I don't think anybody has ever asked me that questions after. The lessons learned is, there are quite a few, but losing this election is actually a blessing in disguise, because it made me understand how some people are. It made me understand people better, because, in this country, sometimes people will tell you certain things and hype you. Actually, there were people that were calling my phone every day, asking me ideas. There were people that you helped installed in places, and those people turned against you. So if I turn back, no hard feelings towards them, but, I think if I had won, I wouldn't have known a lot of people. So, I mean, you know, sometimes when you ask, you pray to God for certain things and you feel he hasn't given it to you because he hasn't answered your prayers. No, he has answered my prayers. He wanted me to know certain people. And this has taught me a great lesson to understand people better. I'm not a naive person. I'm a businessman. I'm a shrewd businessman. I mean, I pay attention to detail. But, you know, there were people that I would have given my heart to and go to sleep. But, you know, now that this thing has happened, I'll rather keep it. So this has taught me a great lesson that not everything some people tell you and keep there, but they're very honorable people too, because they're people who stood by me, you know, through thick and thin. They're people who were with me no matter what. They will call me, they will come to my house, they will come to my office. They stayed with me.
They still believe that that team is still on. And
oh, yeah, the TRC, yes. I mean, Team Restore Confidence has turned to a civil society organization. We actually registered.
Wow.
People don't know. That's why when we were conducting the training, people were asking, what, you know, what legal basis. We have, you know, like the Wolves would say, Bob and pull halatla. We're not just here because we wanted position. We want to change the dynamics of Gambian football, and that is the idea. So we registered this as a civil society organization, as a charitable organization where we can help clubs, you know, empower them, you know, and teach them certain things and bring our knowledge and expertise to some of them. If we can bring in other experts who can also do that, we would do that. We are also in a position where we can critique the Gambian Football Federation and take them to task when certain things are done wrongly. So we have every right to do that.
Yeah, everyone knows you that, you know, your relationship with Gambian football stakeholders is always cordial because you're always the Sadibou that people know. What is your relationship presently with the GFF executive?
Individually, I have, you know, like a cordial relationship with some people, not everyone, of course, because some people take this personal. But for me, I mean, I'm a businessman. I don't burn bridges. I mean, we can do things together, but there are certain things, there are limitations to certain things that we can do. Like I said, especially when you do certain things that have exposed, you know, your persona to me, it teaches me that, you know, this is a person that I would obviously have limitations with. But I mean, if there's anything that I can do for Gambian football, I am game. We just recently did we organized a trial, scouting mission for.
Yeah, I think that, I have a question. Okay. I have a question for that because recently we've seen you dive into many things just to continue where you left it after the election. But we still going to talk about club level. You know, recently, like as you know, we always talk about rules during elections or when events are about to happen. Recently, there was a you know, pre-season, you know, meetings, club pre-season meetings with the football authorities, and you know, it was chaotic, but there was no, you know, serious objection made by football stakeholders. So many questions at times come around. Those stakeholders knows their responsibility because people complain when there's election or when the league started. You know, we are not treated well because, you know, this is when you endorse how the league should be run. So do you not think, you know, getting into the 2026 election, there need to be a very important role to help stakeholders understand what football managements are?
That is pertinent, Haji. That is very pertinent. And that was why I said we conducted this training for general secretaries. Unfortunately, well, I'll say it's a shame, most of the first and second division clubs didn't show up. Some did, and some came individually. But they would have gotten a lot of experience from that because a lot of them would call me even whilst I was serving general secretary, you know, in my former club. And, you know, Sadibou, how did you do this? Oh, we have a transfer request. What do we do? We have this. We're going to the AGM. What do we do? We have a, you know, they don't understand this. You know, like wanting to run a club doesn't make you run a club. Being able to run a club is what makes you run a club. You should be able to understand what your roles and responsibilities are. And you should be able to define these. And most of these people go to AGMs. They go to, you know, club management meetings, and they don't even know what is being explained. You know, sometimes you go and they're telling you, oh, if you have a player on contract, if he's leaving, you need, you know, a transfer request. But if you have a player that doesn't have a contract, he needs a release. And I'm asking, what do you need a release for? Since the Bosman ruling came in 1994, Jean-Marc Bosman, once your contract is done, you don't need a release. You can go. In fact, if you have 6 months left in your contract, a player is in a position to start negotiating his other contract. And, you know, some of these people don't even know. If a player plays for your club and he plays less than 15% of the games, he has every right to terminate his contract. So these are things I needed to expose some of these general secretaries to. So, you know, them going to these club management meetings and things are being explained. And I've said this. People own clubs. And you have people who are responsible for certain things. Club management meeting, you send a ball boy or a kids man, they go there, they don't understand what is being said. So they go there and accept most of these things, and then they come back. The matches are being played, you start arguing, oh no, we didn't agree to this rule or to that regulation. Because that is where the rules and regulations are discussed. So if those things are being discussed, raise your hand and, critique it and say what you feel that this is not right.
You can even boycott if this is not there. I'm not going to participate in the league. You have right as a club owner.
Certainly. So those are the things, like people own clubs and then they just ask somebody to go there and then they'll complain. But that's not how it happens. I've said that even when we organize the trials, most of the people just send a junior coach. You're there. I'm not the one who's providing the players' details. Yeah. So sometimes they have a player's name or date of birth is all wrong. And I look at them like, this is not correct. So when I call their club owners, I'm like, you have a trial. This is something that could help you sell players. And you're sending a kids man or a ball boy. Come on. You don't have a business and not look after it. So, it's that. So I really feel before 2026, a lot of capacity building has to be done. A lot of sensitization has to be done. And that's what TRC wants to do. We are going to do a lot of that. We are going to do that as much as possible so that people understand that running a club is not just about going to camp and then playing. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. You see people going to football matches wearing their suits and ties, and they know their investments. Clubs have CEOs, they have managing directors, but we don't do that. So unless and until we try to match those people, we are not going to be at par with them. We cannot say we want to deliver in AFCON and World Cup when players are performing at their level and administratively we're doing poorly. We should be able to match the players at that level. The players have now gone professional. The clubs, the administrators should also go professional so that we can be at par.
Will you contest for the 2026 GFF election?
Possibility, yes. Like I said, if there's a better candidate and, the team Restore Confidence feels that, that person is better, I'll allow that, But until that time, I'm the candidate that is available, yes. So I'm not gone, I'm here. Most of the other people who vie for the GFF presidential position, as soon as they lose, they disappear into oblivion. I'm here. I live football. This is what I breathe. You can't take me out of football. So there's no way I'm going away. I'll stay here for, like Standard Chartered Bank said, I'm here for good.
The relationship with your members, your executive members in the past election has turned to be a family affair. You talk on a daily basis, discuss about how to take Gambian football to another level. But how has this campaign for GFF position help you to understand the dynamics of Gambian football countrywide?
Oh, certainly. To a higher level, to be honest. You go to some places and you talk to them and, people are just scared to come out. And I'm so happy and I'm grateful to members of my executive who accepted to take these positions because people are scared, like I said, to come and say, oh, they want to be associated with Sadibou. So some people that would even when they're talking to me, hey, but let me go before somebody sees me, because that's how these people see things. They see anybody with me, oh, that guy.
People lost their job because they were with you.
Yeah, a lot of people did that, and that was one of the reasons why I had to, because I wasn't leaving. There was no way. People said, oh, he's still there, he needs to leave, he needs to resign. I'm like, not leaving. But the reason why I had to, because anybody that was seen to, be close to me was being sacked. So I thought, to put a stop to this, I don't need to get, I run my own business. So I have my survival. I can't, deprive people of their survival just for the fact that they support me. But, you got to give credit to these people, from my first, second, third vice and everybody in the executive who accepted to be part of Team Restore Confidence, and everybody who went around with me. You have honorable people, the likes of Sidi Kinte, former president, the likes of Masaksi Gai, the likes of Alasamba. These are people, as kids you were looking up to say, okay, I want to be like that person. And today, if those people come out to say they're endorsing you, that is so gratifying, Haji. So as I said, that was a huge achievement for me. And more grease to the elbows. I can't thank them enough for seeing the ideas that we had on the table for Gambian football. And to be honest, anybody who supported Team Restore Confidence and stayed with us for good is really tough, because these people would have done anything to get rid of anyone.
Isn't it your plan to look at the people who decide for Gambian football? Because others behind the scene will tell you, if this was a national election, there's a possibility Sadibou could go on with this presidency. Do you feel there's need for improvement with the people that decide Gambian football?
Oh yes, oh yes. It's a lot. It's more to do with sensitization and people understanding what their roles are. Because some of these people were just doing it because they support a particular individual per se. I mean, there were people that were in a different camp with me in the previous election, you know, during Malik Silla. Everybody knows Did was the campaign manager for the current president.
You supported that executive very well.
Exactly. I mean, single-handedly, I was going to every radio. I mean, you know, I mean... We had a lot of remember, Esa and I had a...
that was one of the highlights at West Coast Radio.
I mean, so if you imagine people like Esa and them supporting my candidature on objective people...
If that happened when I saw Esa's endorsement, it was like, these were the two gentlemen that I hosted in the program, and it was a
you know, so definitely it's something that you look at. So for me, it's, you know, people seeing that it's more than just a personal position, but, you know, something that is for the betterment of Gambian football. And that is something that I really, you know, treasure and admire, you know, from all those people, for people that are so honorable and objective, like, you know, men of high esteem coming out to say, oh, we're with him. I mean, if it was general election, I would have beaten these people hands down. I mean, ages ago. I mean, it would have been different, but it is the stakeholders who decide, like I said, and some of these stakeholders were even with us. At some point, Haji, you know, they were accusing me of whether they call it bribery or inducement. You know, when I was going around giving clubs balls, they said, you know, FIFA ethics. I was waiting for them to take that to FIFA ethics, but what they did was worse. So, you know, it was up to the people to see. You know, 95% of clubs I had given balls to, Haji. And I told them, I'm not giving you balls to support me. You know, it's in our culture that when you go somewhere, you bring something. And I was supporting a lot of clubs behind the scenes before this in terms of how they would run their clubs. So some are trying to reach out now. And, you know, there are clubs that even contacted me after the trials to say, oh, you didn't invite us to your trials. It's like, well, we're at liberty to invite whoever we want to, you know.
There were household club names who were behind you endorsing full-time during the election.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, these are clubs that, you know, feel that the Gambian football needed to change. As I said, some people wanted change. Some people wanted it personally. Some people wanted it for themselves, or they'll go to the other camp. There were people that were even saying, oh, Sadibou's too young, you know, I can't go behind him. But, I mean, Rishi Sunak, if Rishi Sunak can be the Prime Minister of England, it's not, you know, like I always say, maturity has nothing to do with age, you know. Acceptance of responsibility, you know. So I keep telling them, bring your ideas, I bring mine. And then, you know, when there was a debate, I was there. You know, I gave my ideas, and Gambians, there were people that were calling me. I mean, like I said now, I go to certain offices and they're like, Mr. Kamasso, I was following you, you did well. And I'm like, you know, it's so humbling. Yeah, it was, but it feels so humbling. You go to places, whether it's in courts or places, and people are like, oh, I admire you, you know, you're a role model. I'm like, hey, I haven't reached that yet. You know, but to be honest, it's humbling. And I wish, you know, we could do that a lot more. If the election was tomorrow again, we are ready.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We are going for a short break. When we return, Sadibou is our guest today. Don't forget to join us. You know, follow us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and also on YouTube. And you will see, you know, follow the full video. You will hear all what this discussion is all about. We are taking a short break. When we return back, we'll continue with the future of Gambian football.
Album of Valentin, Valentin, yeah. It's all Valentin, Five Valentin, yeah. Kangaroo Valentin. Baba Valentin, yeah, Solmeta Parerine, Vajeme Parerine, Album of Valentin, Valentin, yeah, it's all Valentin, Five Valentin, yeah, Kangalu Valentin, Baba Valentin, yeah, Solmeta Parerine, Vajeme Parerine.
Welcome back to the special interview with Sadibou Kamasso, the former GFF presidential candidate. You know, like I said, you know, he has brought something new in Gambian football. And I'm glad that he's saying it himself, that Gambians have seen his coming to football as a blessing for football administration. Let's talk about the future. Recently, you've been involved in many activities relating to football development. We've seen you with scouts coming to Gambia. You've also organized trainings for people that you believe you can share your knowledge with. How do you intend to plan for the future for Gambian football?
You know, like Al Gore once said when he was asked a question. I think he was giving a speech and he said, I used to be the next president of the United States.
Yes.
People didn't understand what he meant because everybody thought he was going to win.
Yes.
So I also used to be the next president of the GFF. You know, because everybody expected that I was going to win. As I said, there were people that were offering sponsorship packages. I mean, even the day of the debate, somebody called and said he was willing to sponsor the GFF Awards night for the next 5 years. Yeah, he called me through Atto, my the running mate, and said he wanted to talk to me. And I spoke to him. He said, I've listened to what you said, and you know, with all these transparencies, we would sponsor the awards night. So we had people that were even willing to go beyond that. But Haji, I mean, for us, the sky is the limit when it comes to exposing people to the inner intricacies of football. And that was the reason why we did the General Secretary's training. As I've said this earlier on, people call you day in, day out to understand, you know, how do they have to write letters of protest, whether they should protest first or appeal. Some people don't even understand that, and they're in clubs.
And they are stakeholders.
Yes. First and second division clubs. So sometimes they lose their points because they do not even understand that even when you're protesting, you need to do it within 24 hours, and the opposing club must get a copy. You cannot protest without the opposing club. No. So most of these protests, they lose, and they're like, no, they've taken our points when they do not understand. And people call, how do you do the TMS? How do you do that? How are contracts done? How do you do a release? Some of these first and second division clubs don't even know what a TPO is. You know, when I was doing the training, I said TPO, and they were like, what is TPO? It's third-party ownership. And that came in when Mascherano and, you know, Carlos Tevez came in, when this guy said he owned.
There was an issue another time, yes.
So these are things Exactly. Yes, so these are things I needed to expose them to, because sometimes you see an agent that says, I own this player. Players are owned by clubs. So I was able to expose, you know, most of these general secretaries to these things so that they also understand, you know, what their roles are. And I have to say, you know, I have to express my profound gratitude to Sang Wisdom Mendy.
Oh, yes, Sang Mendy, the boss.
Yeah, he was one of the resource persons. He came in and harped on communications aspect of it. And, you know, he was telling me, Sadibou, you know, there's a huge need for, you know, communications training, because most of these clubs don't have a communication strategy. And I said, this is what I'm doing. I needed to start somewhere, and then people will complement my efforts, or we will continue with this. So, you know, Sang Mendy, thank you very much for that. So he came in and he did it pro bono. So yeah, we're going to do a lot of more training. And with the scouting and the trials, we're doing a lot more, because this is the first time Fenerbahce came in officially. And, you know, they've made me their official, you know, contact person here. So, you know, anything that you have to do with Fenerbahce in the Gambia, you have to come through me.
So now we can say that you are international agent now.
Well, not an agent, because Gambia Football Federation hasn't started registering agents yet. You know, so unless I am certified, but you cannot be in a club and be registered. So I'm facilitating, you know, these trials for them. So those trials are going to continue, because what we want to do is to give these kids the platform to be able to expose their talent so they can go to the international arena. And I'm happy to say this, that we have 8 kids that are going.
Wow.
Yeah.
So already they have met the criteria now?
We're just waiting for them to get their passports ready, because their clubs have to do their passports. I mean, even, in fact, this morning, you know, Fenerbahce was asking me, when are the passports going to be ready? I said it was a holiday period. So we have 8 kids that are going. 4 of them are going to Turkey, and another 4 are going to Italy, you know.
How progressing is the trade? Like, for instance, you've been dealing with academies as well. You've been dealing with clubs that are not officially registered with, you know, first division or second division, you know, leagues. How progress is the trade? It's
a good one, because academies are one of the, you know, stakeholders that should even benefit more, because training, compensation, and solidarity areas that they can benefit from, because most of these academies would train these young players, and by the time the young players get to that age, they just leave them for a first or second division club. There's no agreement probably. Even if there's an agreement, it probably isn't followed, and by the time the player signs professional, they do not benefit anything from it. And you know, with training and solidarity compensation, you're able to make anything, you know, when the player gets signed. For instance, from 12 to 21, any club or any academy that has trained a player, by the time they sign a professional contract, their first professional contract for their 23rd birthday, you know, you're eligible to 5% of that money, and that 5% is shared amongst all those clubs. So for instance, a player is sold for 15 million, 5% is 750,000. That is divided into. So from 12 to 15, they get 5%. You know, 16 to 21, they get 10%. So there's a lot of meat that is being left on the bone. And you know, if these training compensations are not claimed, the Gambian Football Federation should be in a position to claim that. And that was the reason why during my campaign I said, we are going to create a platform where all these young academy players are going to be registered. At least we have their player passports, not the player's passport. The player passport shows where they've been through. So anytime they sign a professional contract, if the club doesn't claim it, Gambia Football Federation should be able to claim that money, and that could come for the development of young talent. So
this happened some time ago with Osjalo, Ron Mango, on Walidan, when Ron Mango was asking for some amount of money because the player, started from that area.
Exactly.
So I think this is very important as far as the football is concerned.
Training and solidarity compensation. I mean, solidarity compensation now, that one doesn't even stop, because that one, anytime the player signs a professional contract, to another club that is international, something like Ronaldo when he signed from Juve to come to Man United, his clubs in Portugal were all getting something. So those are the things I was exposing. Unless you renounce those rights in exchange for a sell-on, but these are things I needed to expose them to, and it was a shame that the Gambia Football Federation leadership was questioning my technical and legal competence. I think they should have even come and attend, so they can take something home.
Infrastructure. You can only see the beauty of football if the infrastructure is there for you. And recently, we don't have too much pitches here that you can say has met the international standard. Our independent stadium, the only stadium we have in this country, is not fit to host an international stadium. Going by your experience from the GFF, do you think GFF can use some of the monies that is sent by FIFA to look into football infrastructure as well?
Infantino had a great vision. That's why he called it Forward. There was Forward 1, Forward 2, and Forward 3. Forward 1, there was a lot of money. Forward 2, there was, and then now Forward 3. Forward 3 now has gone up to about $8 million over 4 years.
Has it started already?
Starts from January, so people should start applying. I mean, even Forward 2, there was some leftover monies. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Gambia Football Federation, because, I mean, FIFA wouldn't unblock the monies if you do not complete those projects, because the way FIFA operates is, you write a project, you send it to them, you give them the total cost of the project, they pay you in milestones. So if the foundation is costing you 1 million, they'll give you 1 million. You need to finish that work to be able to claim and unlock the other amount. That is, where we had issues, because what GFF was doing, they were just creating series of projects, because you do not spend the actual amount on that project. And if you don't spend that, somebody was giving you money to open the studio, and they say the whole studio would cost you 1 million. And the building is 300,000. They give you 300,000, you haven't finished the building, and you're asking them for the next phase of the money to buy the cameras. No.
It doesn't work that way.
Exactly. So, I mean, my advice to the Gambia Football Federation, well, they may not like it, but this time is to use the money judiciously. Whatever's coming from FIFA, I mean, I think, even if the executive sits and decides they should do a bigger consultation with the stakeholders, despite the fact that the Gambia government is refurbishing the independent stadium, we should be able to use resources from there and start something else, because we should be able to host AFCON in the next 8 or 10 years. That is my belief. So, I mean, if countries like Nigeria and Benin are jointly trying to host it, what's stopping Gambia and Senegal? If Senegal is going levels, we should be able to. So now that the forward has been increased to 25%, we get a lot more money. There's a lot more money that is going to come in. And I hope this time around, experts are going to be, approached to be able to give their expert opinions as to how do we go on with this. Because what had happened, in the previous years was abysmal. I mean, it's undesirable. Right now, you can't play any international match here. So if Gambia government doesn't come to our aid, we wouldn't be able to. And people keep saying, yes, it is the government's responsibility to build parks, but there are other MAs that are using their resources from FIFA to build parks. So what is stopping us? That's the reason why FIFA have the funds there. They know how African governments can be struggling with finances. So that's why they had those monies there. It's for specific projects. So if you feel we could build a stadium somewhere, approach the Gambia government and say, you're refurbishing this stadium, can we find a suitable space of land? You can go up to Bonto or wherever. We went to Cameroon, and if you look at the stadium in Bafoussam, I mean, we drove 6 hours to go there.
Yeah, you go to even Algeria. Some of the time our teams are, taken to,
We played there in Blida. From Algiers, we went all the way to Blida. So what is stopping us? You can build it in Jara or somewhere. So long as it is something that is fit for people to use, let us at least have a second stadium. Because I think by now too, and that was one of the campaign promises we made, that every region should have a standard playing pitch. That is why these clubs struggle when they're trying to play their triangulars. To come from the third division to the second division, you've been playing in a sandy pitch for quite a long time. And then all of a sudden you're coming to play your triangulars on an artificial turf. I mean, you struggle.
You struggle because they're the same space.
So we should be able to at least help each region to, because without infrastructure, I mean, I don't see our football moving forward. Because the two most important things, apart from the players, are the ball and the pitch. Without those two, let's forget it.
Do you have concern about the way money is spent with your experience, your financial experience, and working at the GFF before? Do you have concern as to how money is spent?
Serious concern. Serious concern. To be honest, I mean, I think we should be in a position by now to start prioritizing what we spend on. And I also feel maybe even the GFF executive should be in a position now to make some sacrifices. Maybe people can start looking at cutting on some travels, cutting on some areas where they feel there's no need for this. If the executive is seen to be giving back, if you travel for 5 days and you say, okay, I'll give the 1 day, or, I know, it's a per diem.
Yes.
If you're doing that, when you approach sponsors and you start telling them, oh, in fact, when we travel, we give 1 day back. They, oh, okay. If they're making the sacrifices, I'll be willing to. As a businessman, that's the mindset I have.
Yeah.
But if they're thinking, okay, FIFA is giving these people all this money and they're coming to us for sponsorship, what do we do? But you must be seen to give back yourselves, and then you must be able to start certain things for sponsors. But to be honest, we have serious concerns. I mean, I personally have serious concerns when it comes to how we spend the monies. I think monies meant for football should be spent on football.
The league, like I said earlier on, there was an announcement made. There's an increment of the league prices, but yet still there are clubs complaining of not receiving their money for the last league championship. And what is your future plan for Gambian leagues?
Well, they're waiting. I believe they're waiting for January, because it's January now, so clubs would probably they should receive their monies, because this is where the operational funds come in. They come in January and July. So the operational funds, if those ones come in, now there's an increment in that one as well, 25%. So they should be able to. I mean, they probably spent all the money in the campaign. Jokes aside, but yeah, I mean, I said this during my campaign that the league price should be increased to 1.5. People were saying, no, it's not possible. But now that I've seen the GFF has decided to increase it to 1 million.
1 million.
What I was saying is possible. I've been there, I served in the finance committee. I know what could be given, because this is something that should go back to the clubs. You're talking about going professional, and you've not even started increasing the league prize money. These things should be done. I mean, imagine a club winning the league, and then they're wondering, where do we get resources from to travel to CAF Interclub Championships? When the clubs you're going to play against have already purchased their tickets, they're already there, or you're here sitting organizing Jaliba shows or, musical jamborees to be able to raise funds. You should be able to have a certain amount that can help you go past that stage, because, I mean, clubs should by now go past the preliminary stages of CAF Interclub Championships. CAF is talking about, the CAF Super League, which has a lot more money, $2 million, because it's 11 million, that they're spending on, and you can win up to $2 million when you win. If the Gambia can go to AFCON and go up to quarterfinals, what is stopping us from going to that level? Okay. But we should be able to match them, if not all, but at a certain level, so that when we get to that level, we are able to deliver. But without that, we shouldn't. And I also challenge the Gambian Football Federation to do a lot more marketing. You have products and services. We should be able to sell them. We should be able to sell them. I've seen, the recent sponsorship that they've had with Baluo.
Yes.
It's $25,000. Thanks to Baluo, I mean, we're grateful that they've done this. But, I mean, I personally wouldn't have signed that for 4 years. I mean, because, the value of the league would rise.
Yeah, would rise. Next year.
So if I'm getting $25,000, that's about 1.5 million. And they said 50,000 is going to be given to 16 clubs. That's 800,000. So you have about 700,000 that's left. What about the others? If you do the math, how long are you, going to do that? I mean, sometimes we're, overexcited and we sign this. A year or two would have done it, I mean, maybe they have a clause there that says but what I saw in the media was $25,000 and it's for 4 years, and they can start from somewhere. As I said, it's a good thing that we're starting somewhere, but I mean, 4 years for $25,000 is quite small.
Well, very soon we'll come to the end of this interview, but I have this question to ask you. You've seen as a young, sport administrators who is intelligent and, exposed and can take Gambian football to another level. There are young players as well and young administrators. We've always seen in this country people take things personally after elections, and that is not going to take Gambia forward because it's Gambia we're talking about. What will be your advice to young sport administrators and players in this country? Because you've been interacting with them. Presently, there are players playing their professional leagues outside. They are fully managed and and guided by you, and we have seen the successes in that part.
Yep.
So what will you give as an advice?
I mean, what I've told most of them is, national interest should supersede personal interest. I mean, there are times when, your individual self is much more important. Like a friend of mine, he's Belgian, he told me, Sadibou, you worry about people too much. For me, there are times when if this whole building is falling, I only care about myself. And I said, but that's selfish. He said, no. He said, if you're in a flight and they tell you if cabin pressure is low, you look after yourself first. Because I said, that's a good argument, but still, and as I said, I mean, I've always said my loyalty is to the greater good. National interest supersedes individual interest. I mean, if the nation progresses, we would all benefit from it. But if you look at yourself as an individual alone, you wouldn't be able to, although you should be able to look after yourself. The players, I keep saying this is something that can change your life and the lives of many people for good. I am helping manage a good number of players, and I'm happy today most of them have their compounds.
Musa Barrow, one of the most successful Gambian players.
Yeah.
In Italy.
I mean, we were talking this morning, there are things that we're working on. I mean, he lost his uncle.
Oh.
Yeah, in the US. Yeah, he lost his uncle in the US. I mean, but, I keep telling them this is something that would change your life for good. So when you're playing football, it's not just a sport that you love. It's a profession. This is something that has changed your life, and it will change the lives of many. So take it with so much importance. Like, I've organized trials, and people were invited. You tell them to come there 1 hour before the game. They're there 10 minutes before. And I keep looking at them, and I said, come on, guys, for heaven's sake. This is something, I'm here, and I'm not the one who's being paid to become a professional. It is you. So if we start looking at the bigger picture as to this is what can change things, we would take it a lot more serious. For the football administrators, again, the greater good is something that we should all look after. Yes, your club is important, but at the end of the day, if your club develops and all the other clubs are behind, we are doomed. So that was why I was never shy. I was never, holding back on helping other clubs to share my knowledge and experience. And even bigger clubs. People will tell you, Ndobi, can you say football? But there were people I found here, and they were asking me, because I research. When you said intelligent, I'm not sure if I am, but I read. I make research, and I make inquiries. When I came into this football administrative environment, I thought there's a lot more that football has to offer. And I keep reading. So anytime I see new things, I keep reading. Anytime I travel, I try to build my network, I widen it. And I learn a lot from these people. So for the stakeholders, I think we should be able to be a lot more objective in terms of how we reason. Not just because, this guy is young, or let us give this person one more time, or, this guy is my friend. No, that has nothing to do. Nobody was closer to the president than I am. I was, but I was looking at the interest of the greater good. I travel to other countries, and sometimes I'm embarrassed. And I'm like, this is the level our football is. So I feel we should be able to go to the next level and not just be looking at, some of these people have been there for the longest time, for the past 3 decades. Yeah. There are some people that are presidents of clubs. Yeah. They've been there for the past 3 decades. So you ask them, what are your achievements? Let them sum them up. So for me, the objective is to put the Gambia Football Federation on a pedestal for infrastructural, financial, and technical self-sustenance. That way we don't have to be relying on other people, relying on other things to be able to do things. We should be able to be at that level. Gambia is a small country, and if we put in our time, our resources, and energy, Haji, we'll be competing with these big countries. I saw people were saying Croatia is just 3 million people. It is not the number of people. It's not the number of people. It is what ideas people are bringing on the table. Okay. So the population has nothing to do with the number of people.
Finally, 2023, I know you must be, eyeing a lot of things which include football developments, moving forward with your international connections to big clubs in Europe, in Africa, and also meeting some top sport administrators who could be, good partners in the future. What do you look up to 2023?
There's a lot in the pipeline. I mean, the agents I'm working with, we would like to go to Eastern and Southern Africa sometime in February. We're trying to expand our networks there, not to transfer players there, because I don't like transferring players to Africa. I mean, I feel, you know, if we want to develop our players, they should be able to go to maybe North Africa. Yeah. But we have a lot. I mean, we have a lot of capacity building programs. You know, we are talking to some people, some of the ex-players, most of whom have endorsed me. You know, we're still talking, and, you know, what they usually do, they have a lot of material that they bring in. These are things we're putting up together. We have some training program we intend to go and do up country as well. And a lot more trials as well to be able to give people, you know, the platform to showcase their talent so they can go and help their clubs. But we have a lot, you know, we wouldn't want to, like they say in Gambia, when you show people where you're going, they go there before you, you know, even though I'm not scared of that, but we have a lot, and we're here, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to do the best we can to ensure Gambian football develops. At least people would remember Team Restore Confidence for having changed the dynamics of Gambian football. I mean, I'm told, you know, a lot of people would say, for the first time, football has garnered this much interest when it comes to politics. That's what we wanted. Yeah. Because the more people, you know, grow interest in the football, then they would be able to come and watch our games, then they will be following. But if people leave it to, you know, just the people who are running it, then it wouldn't develop. Because running a club doesn't make you spend all your money. You see clubs selling a player, like Ronaldo going to Saudi. How much money have they made? Yeah. Look at the followers. Exactly. So this is what we want to do.
Over 6 million people following the club.
These are the ideas that we have. So we want to, you know, increase stakeholder participation so that football and its benefits can reach the doorstep of every Gambian. And we still believe, like I said, I'm extremely optimistic about Gambian football. I am extremely optimistic because most Gambians by now understand that our football has been faced with unprecedented crisis, and you need a committed leader to do that. I am that committed leader, even though I am not on the seat, but I still feel there's a lot more I can give to ensure Gambian football moves forward.
Well, Sadibou, Happy New Year once again. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Never dull moment to Haji.
It's been Sadibou Kamasso, and like you said, like you heard from him, he's still into football, and he's going to continue football because that's what he knows. So join us next week with another episode. Until then, thank you for watching, and keep following us on all our social media platforms. Thank you very much. I've been your host, Sajid Rami.